So recently I've noticed my videos seem to follow a trend of I'll have a really horrific week and then actually a quite good week. Obviously I had the horror show in Vegas and then I had a good week last video. However, I don't really know what happened in this video, but for whatever reason I was actually good. Something just seemed to click and work, and it's probably the first time on this game that I've actually felt that. I obviously don't expect it to last that long, but while it does last, this is what I can do when I'm not being me. So as the race gets underway in Silverstone, I start from P10 on the grid. It wasn't a great qualifying, nevertheless it's a pretty average start as we head through turn number 1. We've got plenty of space to work with. There's absolute chaos ahead of me, and I knew luck was on my side when I survived that. I'm pretty sure on any other day I would have had a broken wing by this point, but on this occasion we go straight up into P5. Our next bit of luck comes at the end of the lap, coming through Vale. There's a car off to the right, which I'm not really too sure how they got there, but we're going to go round the outside of now P3, round the final corner, and I don't know how I made that work. That's probably one of the best overtakes I've done in this game. I'll be honest, I don't know where this newfound confidence came from. So within the space of 2 laps, we have found ourselves from P10 to now P3. We're under pressure from P4 as he tries a similar move to what we did to him. But for this occasion, we are going to defend it. He's going to try at the inside of club. That's not going to work, and somehow we don't spin out. Already though, it wasn't looking likely that we'd be in the battle for the win. We were 2.8 seconds down. And despite being over a second behind P2, we somehow managed to get DRS. Regardless, going to be under pressure from Zavata, heading through Brooklands, and then Luffield is going to go up the inside of Brooklands. He's going to have the outside line for Luffield. We've got the inside line, and it looks like it's going to work out for us. We're going to hold on to P3 just for now, but he gets a better exit down towards Copse Corner. We are burning ERS, but it does look like he has a straight line speed on us. I think he got the better traction out of Luffield. He's got the outside line, and we decide to cut the corner, play it safe, because I don't think it's going to leave me room on the inside there. We're down to P4, but it definitely wasn't over yet. I definitely felt faster than this Zavata guy, and he was now hounding P2. I'm guessing P2 had a slight off. But also, Zavata just properly mounts the curbs and drives into the side of P2. We go back onto P3 because of it. Yeah, that was an interesting line from Zavata, and I can only assume that P2 Vallejo was just struggling on tyres at this point. He was on the soft tyres, I was on the mediums, but on lap number 4 we've got DRS on him and we're going to cruise past him around the outside heading towards Stowe. He's going to try and hold it up the inside, but carrying the speed around the outside, we're up into P2. Thanks to people battling behind me, I don't really know how I did it, but I was able to actually close the gap to P1, albeit it wasn't by too much, but given his pace he showed at the start of the race, this was still pretty surprising. But as we come into the pit at the end of lap number 6, admittedly he did have the pace to at least match me, and I pretty much knew at this point that I didn't have the pace overall to beat him. But given the luck I'd had so far in this race, I definitely wasn't counting out a chance that he'd make a mistake. We come out the pit in P3 on the soft tyres. We are on net P2. Somehow Wood has gained 1.3 seconds on me in the pit stop, so I'm not really too sure how he managed that. But a lap later, Eldon comes into the pit for a set of soft tyres as well, and he is going to come out directly behind me in P3, so it looks like it's going to be a battle between us two. Again, Wood just ahead of us, but we definitely don't have the pace over him. Hang on a minute. Oh shit, it's the Woos, not Wood. I've been misreading that the entire time, sorry about that. For the next couple of laps it's pretty chilled out in P2, but on lap number 10, Eldon with the fresher tyres gets into our DRS range, and it looks like we're going to have a battle for P2 for the remainder of this race. We've got no issues of catching the Woos out ahead in P1, so there's no point worrying about him, and we are far from under pressure from anyone below P3. So hopefully for the final few laps of this British Grand Prix, we can actually have a nice clean battle with someone for a position that matters and not take them out or get taken out ourselves. Coming through Brooklands, Eldon has the inside line and we try and hold it around the outside, but with the fresher tyres he quite easily manages to get past us, up into P2 for him. But I wasn't too stressed because I knew I'd have DRS down the hanger straight. Coming through Copse, I don't know if this was me just putting Eldon under pressure or him just exploiting the track to his advantage, but he does run incredibly wide and we get right to the back of him through Mags and Beckett, basically pushing him through the corners. But in doing so he does get slightly offline. As we come onto the hanger straight, we're going to have DRS, ERS and Slipstream, and it's going to be a very easy pass up the inside towards Stowe, back up into P2. And it looked like it was going to be an identical lap to the previous on lap number 12. This time he's going to have DRS down the Wellington straight, down towards Brooklands. This time he's going to go to the outside line. Is he going to have the traction to take it around the outside? He somewhat is able to do it, but as we head through Luffield, he has to back out of it. And I've got a feeling he did that so he could get me down the Hanger Straight. Sure enough, as we come out of Beckett's, this time he's going to have DRS down Hanger Straight, although he's not nearly as close as I was to him last time out. And given how he's making no real inroads on me, I can only assume he is waiting for the final lap. So we know we've got an intelligent racer behind us, he knows what he's doing. But on the final lap, I just tried to push as hard as I physically could to try and nullify the DRS that he will have down the Hanger Straight. As we head through Maggers and Beckett, you can see I've opened the gap up to 6.5 tenths, which is inevitably going to close up with the help of DRS, but we've managed to open up a decent enough gap to the point where he won't be challenging us down towards Stowe. The only thing that could ruin this P2 for us is a mistake from myself, which, given how it's me, isn't out of the realms of possibility. He's not close enough to make a move up to Vale, and coming through the final two corners, we mount the curve heavily on the inside. He gets right onto the back of us through the final corner, but we are going to just hold on to P2. Despite my best efforts to bottle it right at the end there, we do manage to hang on. So given how we didn't have the pace of P1, a pretty solid race from us, and although we didn't get driver of the day, it was actually the driver behind us, which doesn't make any sense because we made up the same positions and I managed to hold him off. But other than the game being as troll as ever, pretty good race. And given how a pathetic Silver 2 driver managed to beat 3 Gold 1 drivers and a Gold 2 driver, I really feel like that means you should subscribe. If you are enjoying this video, you should hit subscribe. The button is going to be right, let's put it there. Is that in frame? Yeah, that's in frame. But if you are enjoying my actual fine form and good driving for once, be sure to hit subscribe, like the video and leave a comment. The OTP YouTube channel has phenomenal content which is hilarious and entertaining all at the same time. He does have one ranked content where he's both incredibly quick and incredibly incompetent at times. He's not only incredibly talented at F1, but he is also incredibly humble and down to earth, so you should subscribe. Thank you to the OTP YouTube channel for sponsoring this video. Back to the races. So next up, you join me on my qualifying lap for a very wet Brazilian Grand Prix. As you know, I'm pretty skilled in the wet, so let's see how this qualifying lap goes. I have fucked it immediately. So we start from P4 on the grid. It's a rather small lobby, but regardless, we get a phenomenal start off the line, considering it's in the wet conditions. And we're going to look to the outside of P2 down towards turn number 1. We're going to try and hold her on the outside, but for whatever reason, I just lose the car, bounce off the P2 car, and we're down to last place. It doesn't take us long to catch onto the back of P4 though, because he wasn't having the best of times. At the final corner, he just... Yeah, we're up into P4. Poor guy. And after my absolute bottle at turn number 1, I knew I needed to put some fear into the drivers. So on lap number 2, we put the fastest lap in. My dog is barking. I'm not sure if you can hear that, but great. Anyway, we continue to push onto the next lap and we set another fastest lap of the race. We were definitely a lot quicker in Sector 2. We were struggling a little bit on the straight, so Sector 2 is where we were making up the most time, which admittedly didn't bode well because we'd be right on the back of these guys as we are now, and we scare P3 off the road. Similar move to P4, we go up into the podium places. But as I was saying, it didn't particularly bode well because we'd be in this position, we'd be stuck behind now P2 through the middle sector, significantly faster than him, but just not having the straight line speed to pass him. He has a little bit of a mistake, so we try and sneak up the inside, but on the traction of that corner, we just don't really have it. On the outside of... I need the track map, I have no idea where I am. Out of turn number 10, we're on the inside and trying to get the traction down, but on the outside of turn 11, we just lose the back end ever so slightly and we have to concede P2 once more. And it was somewhat of a similar theme the entire race. We'd be basically pushing the cars through the middle section. You can see we're trying to look at the inside, then the outside at turn number 8. But this time we get the inside line for the following corner at turn number 9 and basically have to push our way back up into P2. This time we are going to hold on to the position, and so long as we don't lose position down the main straight, we should be able to challenge P1. And nothing showed where I was strong the most than my sector times. As you can see, we go slower in the first sector, PB in the third sector, but a session best in the middle sector gives us the fastest lap of the race, and now on lap number 9 we're right on the back of P1. Luckily for me, he goes incredibly tight to the apex at the final corner, or at least final proper corner, and then coming down the main straight we are right on the back of him. I'm not too sure if it was traction related, but he was just squabbling all over the place, and that gave us a run to the outside for turn number 1. Admittedly, we basically had to use up all of our ERS to do this. We get the fastest lap as we cross the line before P3 takes it off us. But coming into turn 1, I make him miss his braking point, and it's an easy move for us up into P1. And I'll be honest, at this point I was feeling pretty smug, having made him make a mistake. That was quite a nice feeling. However, as I'm sure you may know, it's me, so on lap number 11, while leading the race, I don't really know what happened. I just lost the back end at turn 6 and we dropped down to P2. On the plus side though, we were right behind P1. It did take me a couple laps to get my confidence back, especially through turn number 6, because I didn't really know what I did wrong in that corner that time. But a few laps later, we were once again right on the back of P1 and hassling him through the middle sector. Given my lack of straight line speed, I knew my best bet was to make him make a mistake again. So all I'm doing now is trying to focus on getting a good run out of the final corner once more, getting a slipstream, use up most of my ERS to try and pass him, and hopefully have a repeat of what happened the last time, just without the spin this time. So as we head on to start lap number 14, in his slipstream, pull to the right hand side, we're going to be side by side down towards turn number 1. He doesn't miss his braking point this time, so we're going to have to do it the hard way. Around the outside of turn number 1, he gives us a little bit of a tap at turn 2, and I decide to back out of it and live to fight for another lap. While I had got back into a rhythm to some degree, I was still struggling with turn number 6, and I don't really know why. We go for a half spin this time, we manage to catch the car and only lose about a second on P1. A lap later though, we're coming up to turn 6 once more, and we're actually lapping the last car on the grid, who's P4 currently. And this time it's P1's turn to have a moment at turn number 6, and that brings us right onto the back of him, and now we can start pressuring him once more. He had a habit of going defensive into turn 10, so I try and have a look around the outside, but obviously I didn't really have enough speed to carry the speed around him. So for now we're going to have to stay behind him, but hopefully now he's feeling the pressure. As we come on to the penultimate lap, we're going to have a look around the outside of turn 1 once again, but we are a little bit further back than previous attempts, so on this occasion we're going to have to stay behind him and save it for the final lap. And this was the point where I really had to pressure him. I really had to make him go defensive at every single corner and try and just lose traction wherever he could. He really enjoyed going defensive at turn 10, but I couldn't really make a move work there, so I had to make him go defensive at the final corner, and he does indeed this time. Worst decision he possibly could have made. We're going to try and get as best run as possible at the final corner. We're going to use all of our ERS down the straight, sit in his slipstream for as long as possible. We're sort of waiting to see where he goes. Initially we go to the outside, have a think about the inside, but he covers us off. We're going to have to go to the outside, around the outside at turn number 1. Side by side of him. Is he going to force us off track? No, he isn't. Inside line for turn 2, and for some reason he just gives up the fight, drives off track. I don't think I bumped him off track, but regardless, we go into P1. It would have been nice to have a lap long fight on the final lap of the race for the win, but nevertheless, we're going to come home, and despite everything that I did this race to make it more difficult for myself, we are going to come home to win the race, and weirdly, P2 and 3 retire literally like 2 meters before the finish line. In fact, I'm pretty sure they've actually crossed the line but just haven't finished. That's a weird end for that one. I'm not really too sure how that's happened.